All right, Tucker Carlson joins us. He is actually reporting for work 11 hours before his show. You can feel free to rifle through Brett Baer's personal effects in his desk.
I have been.
I don't doubt it. Hey, Tucker, today is D-Day. The Electoral College is going to meet today, midday all across the country. This is the last chance for the sore losers on the left to steal the election, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it looks unlikely to happen, though. This is the one year, I would say, where you don't really know the outcome, and we're not going to know. I think the results are certified on January 6th. That'll be the day that we're certain. But what it says about the attitudes on the left is what is fascinating to me. So the electors, we can argue about Hamilton's intent or whatever, but Article 2 of the Constitution is pretty clear. They're supposed to show up and vote. There's no mention of voting your conscience. And so for my lifetime, the left has made a pretty strong case in favor of democracy, you know, empowering people to choose their government. It's basic American understanding of how the government's supposed to work. They're making the opposite case now. They're basically saying it doesn't matter that 62 million people voted for Trump. It doesn't matter that we just had an election. It's immaterial.
Right.
37 Republican electors should switch their votes. Those 37 people should choose the next president. They don't believe in democracy. And I would say it's not just the left either. You saw the Republicans acting in a pretty similar way after Trump got the nomination. We're going to take it from him at the convention. It's a crisis when the people running your democracy don't believe in democracy, and it makes your country unstable.
Tucker, how much of this, though, is about democracy, and how much of it is about a concerted effort to discredit out the gates, delegitimize Donald Trump?
Well, I mean, it's whatever it takes. I mean, of course. I mean, they're arguing two things simultaneously. The Democrats are arguing, well, the electors should vote their conscience, act in a moral way, and choose the next president. And they're also, at the same time, arguing the Electoral College shouldn't exist because it's not democratic. So they're sort of arguing against themselves. You know, whatever achieving power takes is what they're willing to do, because it's not about ideas, it's about control. Well, but I do think it's a macro problem that the people in charge of the democracy just don't believe people should be choosing their own government. They don't.
Yeah, and they clearly increasingly do not believe in federalism either. They want to have basically not the states take have its vote and the people there take its vote. But a lot of folks on the left are saying, you know, there's still hope for this. Let's listen to a group of them right now.
Anti-Trump protesters are still hoping for one last chance to stop him.
It seems that people are still holding out hope that the Electoral College, when they vote tomorrow, will somehow miraculously decide that Hillary Clinton is the winner.
When the Founding Fathers created the Electoral College, they put it in place as a fail-safe against a demagogue like Donald Trump. So the electors could be doing their patriotic duty on Monday by voting against Trump.
The Electoral College is not a rubber stamp in many states. You do have to think about your vote.
If I were an elector and I were going to the polls tomorrow, I would want to know if the next president of the United States colluded with a foreign hostile power to affect our democracy.
There's a hope. There's a glimmer of hope on the Constitution.
Completely constitutional.
There's a glimmer, Tucker.
Well, I mean, what would happen if the electors took it away from Donald Trump? If the message coming out of January 6th, the certification day, was, we don't care about you, your votes, the American public. This whole system was a sham. It really is an oligarchy. A small number of influential people run everything. Be quiet and obey. You would have massive unrest, not because Trump voters are violent or crazy, but because the entire population of the United States would know they have no role in running their government. I mean, the only reason this is a stable country is because democracy is the pressure relief valve. People feel like, I'm not going to burn it down, I'll just vote. If they think voting doesn't work, things fall apart. This is crazy behavior, actually.
It is crazy. And, you know, we've told stories on this program and on your program as well about how these electors are being threatened. They're receiving tens of thousands of email, actual snail mail, death threats. There's a very prominent attorney down in Washington, D.C., who you know and we all know. She wondered, why haven't these people reported it to the FBI? Because death threats about voting are a direct attempt to influence an election. The Department of Justice should have already initiated an inquiry into what's happening. They would if it was Black Lives Matter or the Sierra Club or Greenpeace. You know, Donald Trump, he's probably watching right now. He should call for a Department of Investigation into this intimidation, which is civil rights oriented.
Well, of course. If this doesn't fall under the purview of the of the Voting Rights Act, nothing does. And as of last week, not only were these electors whose lives have been threatened not being investigated by DOJ, neither were any of the Trump voters who were harassed or physically attacked, including that guy in Chicago caught on tape, was beaten by a mob for voting for Trump.
Right.
There had been no federal investigation into that. Again, this is important because it suggests that we're not all equal under the law. That is the other promise of America. We run our government and we're all the same before the law. Justice is blind. And clearly that's not true.
Tucker, very few people think that they'll be able to flip the 37 votes that would need to be flipped.
Right.
So other than discrediting Donald Trump, what is the end game here? Is it to get rid of the Electoral College? Because Bernie Sanders, a lot of those folks on the left have been advocating for that for a while.
Well, again, they're at cross purposes. I mean, they're saying we need to get rid of the Electoral College, but then they're also trying to use the Electoral College in order to take the election away from Trump. No, I actually think, and I've thought about this a lot, I've interviewed a lot of the people, they believe this is an opportunity to take it from Trump. I mean, there is some chance this works. I think it's a very small chance, but there was also a very small chance that Trump got the nomination and the election, and both happened. And so I wouldn't discount the possibility. I mean, I think it's remote, but it's not non-existent.
Sure. Tucker, Democrats are still pointing to the WikiLeaks, the supposed Russian involvement as to the reason why Hillary Clinton lost. Donna Brazile was on a Sunday show yesterday talking about it. Here's what she had to say.
Donna, your party was hacked. Some of your emails were included in that. Do you buy the president's argument, or do you think he let Democrats down by not taking a stronger approach?
Well, first of all, I'm gratified that after 7 months, when it was confirmed by our cybersecurity experts and as well as the FBI, that everyone is now taking it seriously. This was a very intrusive process. The president's party was hacked, not the Democratic Party. The president, he is a Democrat. His party was hacked. The emails were weaponized. The release of stolen, hacked emails caused a lot of confusion. And, of course, it disrupted our daily campaign lives.
So, Tucker, we did a little research, and if you look at the Real Clear Politics average of where Hillary Clinton was the day before the WikiLeaks were released, it was at 48%. A month later, after WikiLeaks, it was still at 48%. So what's their point
Actually
here?
up 0.2%.
Up a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, don't confuse me with the data, okay, guys? By the way, I'm glad to see that Martha Raddatz, who literally wept on television when Hillary Clinton lost the presidency, is now hosting ABC's Sunday Show. Speaking of learning nothing from the past year, it's like parody. Look, there are a lot of reasons that Hillary Clinton lost and Donald Trump won, and it might be useful for the Democratic Party to think those through. Instead, they're blaming leaks without any specifics at all. I've asked, I'm sure you all have too, have asked every person making this allegation, okay, tell me specifically the leaked email or the fake news or the Russian interference that you think moved votes, and show me some. I mean, this stuff was polled every single day for a year, so we have a lot of data. They can't. It's not a meaningful critique. It's just noise. It's rage. But the problem is it destabilizes and undermines and delegitimizes the entire process. And so there is a cost to it, as dumb as it is.
You know, and Donna Brazile saying it was weaponized to spread misinformation. That's the first time we've really heard someone calling their own words, the emails that they wrote, misinformation.
That's such a smart point. Exactly. I mean, what they're really arguing is voters should have had less information, less real news. Those WikiLeaks emails were real, and they shouldn't have known that. You should be more ignorant before you vote. That's the case they're making. Really.
They should just listen to the mainstream media, in particular the New York Times. Tucker, we're going to put up a graphic that shows Donald Trump's picks for his cabinet thus far. The New York Times has called him out. Look, there's just not much diversity in the Trump cabinet, and yet there's an item out today that talks about how your friend, the public editor, Liz Spade, who appeared famously on your program, she has called out the New York Times itself for a lack of diversity. Because she said of the 20-plus reporters who cover a presidential campaign, only 2 were black, none Latino or Asian. That's less diversity than you'll find in Donald Trump's cabinet thus far.
What a great way of looking at things.
Good for Liz. I mean, let me say of Liz Spade, I doubt Liz Spade and I have ever voted for the same candidate, but Liz Spade is an honest person, and willing to pull the thread and keep pulling it no matter what the result is. And so this is a great point. If you want to measure by race, and I don't, by the way, I think it's a really divisive way to look at the world, but they do. These are the rules that we've inherited from the left, that you assess every group of people by their skin color, that if you're going to use that standard for Trump and say his convention or his cabinet is repulsively white, as they've said again and again, not just not diverse, but too white, okay. Let's apply that standard to your newsroom. And of course, you know, they're less. It's like Hillary Clinton saying women are getting shafted. They're making a fraction of what men make, and yet women on the Hillary campaign and in the Obama White House make a fraction of what the male staffers make. Okay, let's just live by your own standards.
The New York Times headline is preaching the gospel of diversity, but not following it. Shocker.
You've got lots to talk about tonight on your show.
Good for Liz Spade. She's the best.
Tucker, we'll be watching tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the Fox News Channel.
Great to see y'all. Thank you.
Swerve, Manzini, forget about it.